I do what I do, and it is authentic. John Feinstein, the one and only, who what he does is just right and right and right. Like, man, you just kind of roll out of bed, two books roll out with you. You probably have, like some of those great artists, you probably have a vault of books, and you just kind of just pull them out, right? You just pull them out, and you want them to drop like at a certain time in a certain month. Man, it's so good to see you, John. What's up, man?
Michael, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks a lot. By the way, the Twins also won the World Series without winning a road game in '91. They did it twice in
That's
4 years.
crazy.
It is
Yeah,
crazy.
and so that '87 team was the one that won like 85 games or something. They weren't very good in the regular season, and they turned it on
Right.
in the
They
postseason.
upset
Is
the
that right?
Tigers in the ALCS and then beat the Cardinals in the World Series, much to my delight because I hated the Cardinals since I grew up a Mets fan. You talk about growing up a fan of underdog baseball teams. I
And
was a Mets fan.
and see the Mets are like in between. So the Mets are having a great year.
They are.
But if they win, it's not like a great team has like they this is a great season, but they're an underdog, so I will be okay. If the Mets win the World Series, I'm all right with the Mets.
I
Yankees,
appreciate
different story. But Mets,
Yeah, the
I'm all
Yankees
for it.
are always a different story. I agree with you.
Especially, where I live. Come on, you just can't root for the Yankees to win the World Series. I want to ask you about Serena Williams, and I want to ask you about golf. But let's start off
Sure.
with Serena and just her impact. She was talking about it there in that clip we just showed. I can't even put it into words because I think it's so far beyond tennis. Her impact on the culture, her impact on fashion. She was at it again last night. Just her impact on how we perceive female athletes with their accomplishments, the style with which they do it. Like if you just had to, put it in 200 words, how would you sum up the impact of Serena Williams on her sport and on her culture?
I'm not good at 200 words or less, Michael, but I'll try. First of all, she is the greatest female tennis player of all time. There's been a lot made of the fact that she never got to that 24th major. Margaret Court, not to put her down, great player, but 11 of her 24 major wins were in Australia years ago when it was basically an intramural tournament because nobody traveled down there. The tournament was before Christmas. It was such a long trip. So Serena at 23 majors is, to me, without question, the greatest player of all time. Here's the irony to me, though. Think about this. I think her impact, her cultural impact that we talk about, her impact on young women, young female tennis players and others, has increased since she stopped winning. Because you remember she won her last Grand Slam in 2017 in Australia when she was 2 months pregnant. And then she went away from the game, obviously, to have her daughter. And she's come back with not as good a player. She's older, she's had a baby, but with a kind of grace we didn't always see from her earlier in her career. She had some bad on-court moments, let's be honest, but she has handled not being Serena Williams with so much grace and dignity and dealing with losing a first-round match at Wimbledon. So well that she has become a role model, not just in her play, but in her actions. And I think I admire her probably as much, maybe more, for the way she's handling the end of her career than the way she handled off the court the peak years of her career.
I like the way you said that. You said handling the end of her career. You didn't say retirement. You said the end of her career. And look, John, I don't begrudge people who make retirement announcements and then change their minds. I don't, well, how could you change your mind? It's what they love to do, and it's hard to walk away from that. And we've seen it, whether it's Jordan or Magic or Tom Brady, people who have retired and then changed their minds. From what you know of Serena, from what you've observed, do you think that 2022, this is the last tennis she'll play of her life? Or do you think, in 23 and 24, we can still see Serena playing tennis?
Well, I think she's ready to move on and do other things. And I think the kind of competitor she is it's very hard to go into a major championship knowing that if you make the fourth round or the quarters, you've had a great tournament. That's not who she is. That's not who she's ever been. Among all the remarkable stats about her, she has never lost a first or second round match in the U.S. Open. Think about that. And all the greats have their bad weeks, their bad moments, come up against a hot player. She's played 41 matches now in the first or second round of the U.S. Open and never lost one. I hope I'm not jinxing her because she has a very tough second round match tomorrow night. But this thing about legacy, and you talk about Jordan. As I said, as a kid, I was a Mets fan, so I saw Willie Mays play for the Mets, and there was a lot made about that '73 World Series and him losing the ball in the sun in Oakland. And people said it damaged his legacy. Geez, he's Willie Mays. You can't damage that legacy. Michael Jordan was not Michael Jordan with the Wizards. He was still a very good basketball player. If you didn't know he was Michael Jordan, you'd say that guy's pretty good. And my point, it's their legacy. It's not my legacy, your legacy. It's Tom Brady's legacy. It's up to them. And I think when you reach a certain level, whether you're Brady, Serena Williams, Jordan, Willie Mays, you take your pick. Remember Jim Palmer tried to make a comeback 5 years after he retired in spring training and didn't get out of spring training. Is Jim Palmer's legacy affected? He's still a Hall of Fame.
Nobody's even thinking about it. Right.
So I think that when it comes to that kind of thing, it's up to the athlete. It's up to the coach. It's up to Bill Belichick to decide how long he wants to coach. And I think that if Serena goes out in this U.S. Open, if she decides that's enough, that's perfect. She won the tournament 6 times. She's an American. She won her first major at the U.S. Open. Her sister Venus made her first final in a major 2 years earlier at the U.S. Open and is playing, this afternoon. So I think she's doing it right, Michael. I think she's getting it right.
Here's my last tennis question for you before we get over to golf, because I got to get your take on this. But we always say when a great athlete walks away, we go into 2 modes. One, we'll never see it again. We always said we'll never see anybody like this again. Right. And then 2, what about the sport? We worry about the sport. Can the sport survive it? Who's the next star? How about tennis with Serena Williams? Will we see anyone like her again? And is the sport in trouble when she's gone? Well,
I don't know whether we'll see anybody like her again. I mean, you never know. And when the most unbreakable record in sports was supposed to be Lou Gehrig's record for consecutive games played. Cal Ripken blew past it. Now people say nobody will ever get close to Ripken's record, and they're probably right. Just as probably nobody will ever hit in 56 straight games. But no one is bigger than a sport. Baseball overcame losing Babe Ruth. It overcame losing Willie Mays. It overcame losing Hank Aaron. Golf lost Tiger Woods prematurely as Tiger Woods and marched on. And when Tiger made his comeback and won the Masters in 2019, it was a huge bonus for the sport. But sports go on. No one is bigger than a sport. And tennis, women's tennis, will go on. When Chris Evert retired, Martina Navratilova retired, oh my God, we'll never see the likes of them again. And then guess what we did? It was Steffi Graf, it was Monica Seles, it was the Williams sisters, and it goes on and on.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.